Today is Monday, January 16th. We're talking about the significance of today's federal holiday and why even a day off is meant to be a day on, and how the president is celebrating in a historic way. But also, more classified documents were found in President Biden's home, what the White House is saying now. Plus, how inflation is impacting dating less than a month before Valentine's Day. The suspicious reason a leopard escaped a popular zoo. And is it the new cable? Which streaming platform is testing an updated way to channel surf? Those stories and more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Today, the country is honoring the legacy of an American icon. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Of course, King was one of the most prominent civil rights leaders, known for his nonviolent fight for equal rights for Black Americans. And every January, we find ways to celebrate him. There are marches and parades planned in several cities today. Civil rights museums are expecting lots of visitors. And like usual, Americans are encouraged to give back. In the 1990s, Congress designated MLK Day a day of service. So even though you may have the day off work or school, it's still meant to be a day on. People are encouraged to donate to a good cause and or volunteer. And there are thousands of service projects planned around the U.S. To find one near you, head over to thenewsworthy.com. We've posted a link in today's episode notes. Oh, and a quick reminder, since MLK Day is a federal holiday, government offices, including the post office and libraries, are closed, along with most banks and the stock market. But most major retailers and national chain restaurants will be open. President Biden celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. over the weekend by going to the famous Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, where King used to go. And Biden became the first sitting president to give a Sunday sermon there. The president spoke about King's legacy and called him one of his heroes. Biden also said the country needs to follow King's example to address modern-day struggles. He said, quote, "There's a lot of work that has to continue on economic justice, civil rights, voting rights, and protecting our democracy." But some Black Americans told Bloomberg News they're frustrated with Biden's progress on key issues like voting rights, police reform, and student loan forgiveness. Well, it seems the more President Biden's aides search, the more classified documents they find. Most recently, Biden's lawyers found 5 more secret government docs at his home in Delaware. This comes after the other discoveries over the last couple of months, first in Biden's office, then in a garage, now inside the home. And Biden's legal team says it's still unsure all documents have been found. They reportedly all date back to his time as vice president during the Obama administration. And so far, investigators have not said what exactly they're about. Biden's advisors say he had nothing to do with them, that some of his aides were just sloppy when they rushed to pack up his VP office. And they say every time they found a document that wasn't where it was meant to be, they voluntarily handed it over to the National Archives, like they were supposed to. A special counsel is still looking into that, and the White House says it's fully cooperating. But House Republicans want to do their own investigation as well. They're asking the White House for 2 years of visitor logs from Biden's home to see who might have had access to the docs. So far, the Biden administration has not responded to them. Of course, this all comes as a separate special counsel is investigating hundreds of classified documents found at former President Trump's home. And Republicans have accused the DOJ of dedicating much more time and resources to Trump's case than Biden's. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have said there should be equal treatment for both presidents. To be continued. Today, California may be in for the final round of rain and snow from the series of storms that have been battering the state over the last 3 weeks. This latest burst started last night, and it's covering a large stretch of central and southern California. Some places could get another 2 to 4 inches of either rain or snow on top of the already flood-prone grounds. And with that, many roads and highways are expected to be dangerous, and some are already closed because of flooding. Over the weekend, President Biden declared a major disaster in California and ordered federal aid to help with local recovery efforts. But dry days are finally in this week's forecast for California, starting tomorrow. Rescue and recovery efforts are expected to pick back up today in Nepal after the country's deadliest airplane accident in 3 decades. At least 68 of the 72 people on board this regional passenger plane have died in the crash. And as of early this morning, the other 4 are still missing. The Yeti Airlines flight was going from Nepal's capital to a tourist town only around 100 miles away when it crashed into a gorge. It's not clear yet what caused this crash, But experts say the conditions above mountainous terrain, like changing weather and poor visibility, are some of the hazards of flying in the area. Most of the passengers killed were from Nepal, though more than a dozen were from several other countries like India, Russia, South Korea, France, and more. Some of the most powerful leaders of business and politics are getting together this week in the Swiss Alps. It's time for the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The idea is for the public and private sectors to brainstorm solutions to the world's problems. So activists are also there to try to influence the thousands of rich, powerful people who are attending. Even before the forum started, protesters gathered to demand action on climate change. Already, climate change was on the agenda, though. Former Vice President Al Gore, who's a longtime advocate for going green, will appear on a panel about greenhouse gas emissions. The U.S. climate change envoy, John Kerry, will also be there, along with the CEOs of big companies like Amazon, Google, Shell, and Citigroup, and some celebrities like actor Idris Elba and the Black Eyed Peas singer and rapper will.i.am. The World Economic Forum starts today and runs through Friday. All right, we have much more news still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. The new year is a great time to reset anything in your life that you're hoping to upgrade. And I'm not necessarily talking about a major life change here. I'm talking about those small changes in your everyday systems that can eventually, over time, help you reach your goals. And one system that can help with any money goals on your list is Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Even in the first days of signing up myself, I realized that I was paying for subscriptions that I wasn't using and had forgotten about. Plus, Rocket Money makes it easier to see my finances over time, like a graph showing a breakdown of money spent on subscriptions, as well as bills and utilities each month, so anything out of the ordinary is easier to spot and fix if necessary. Stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. That's rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. A busy zoo had to shut down over the weekend because one of the animals got out, and now it looks like it was not an accident. As Dallas zoo workers were getting ready to open up on Friday, they realized a clouded leopard was missing. So they kept the zoo closed while zookeepers and police searched the grounds for several hours. Thankfully, she was eventually found near the habitat and no one was hurt. Even the animal got back in safe. But now Dallas police say it looks like someone purposely cut a hole in the fencing surrounding her enclosure, and that's how she was able to get out. Zoo personnel later found a similar cut in a monkey habitat, but those animals all stayed put. At this point, it's not clear who could be behind it or why, but investigators are looking into it. But yet another cryptocurrency giant is slashing its staff, continuing what's come to be known as the crypto winter. Crypto.com cut 20% of its global workforce in its second round of layoffs in 6 months. Crypto lender Genesis also cut about a third of its staff this month, and crypto exchange Wabi says it plans to lay off about a fifth of its workforce too. And then, you know about what happened with FTX. The whole company collapsed and the former CEO was charged with fraud. Well, Crypto.com CEO specifically mentioned FTX when announcing these latest layoffs, saying the whole scandal, quote, significantly damaged trust in the industry. With FTX's downfall, many people got out of cryptocurrency altogether, so crypto firms are struggling. That said, Crypto.com insists this will not be the end of cryptocurrency, just that they have to work a little harder to rebuild trust. It looks like they'll be doing that with a little more oversight, though. Republican lawmakers say they launched a new subcommittee specifically dedicated to cryptocurrency. The goal of this panel will be to give clear rules for federal regulators and develop policies to make sure the crypto industry grows safely in the U.S. The cable TV of the future might be on YouTube. As the Wall Street Journal reports, YouTube is testing a new hub of streaming channels that could be free with ads. It's reportedly in talks with different entertainment companies like A&E and Lionsgate about featuring their shows and movies. So it could be trying to compete with the likes of Roku, Tubi, or traditional cable, where you actually scroll through channels and see what's on instead of picking exactly what you want to watch. The journal cites sources who say YouTube's plan is to roll the streaming hub out more broadly later this year. To be clear, though, this would be separate from YouTube TV that gives you a package of channels like CNN and ESPN for $65 a month. YouTube's latest tests come as several other streaming services are also starting to offer cheaper or free ad-supported options like Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Peacock. Some of the biggest stars in tennis are back on the court for one of the most crucial tournaments of the year. The Australian Open kicked off in Melbourne this morning. Some of the favorites to win it all for the men are Novak Djokovic, Daniil Medvedev, and Rafael Nadal. On the women's side, top picks include Iga Swiatek, Caroline Garcia, and even an American named Jessica Pegula. But other big names in tennis have withdrawn from the competition, including the world's #1 men's player, Carlos Alcaraz, who is out with a leg injury, and popular women's player Naomi Osaka, who announced her pregnancy last week. The Australian Open continues for the next 2 weeks. Well, that's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, a message from our sponsor, ZocDoc. Have you ever gone down a Google or social media rabbit hole looking for answers about a health concern? I know I have. And most of the time, it's not all that helpful, or I find a bunch of conflicting information and feel confused, or I realize there are a bunch of so-called experts who don't really have the credentials I can trust. So if you need answers from someone that is not random on the internet and want a trusted professional, ZocDoc is here to help. You can find a bunch of medical professionals that specialize in the care you need, and you can see their patient reviews right there on ZocDoc before you book. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. No more doctor roulette or scouring the internet for questionable reviews. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Well, next time you go on a first date, you probably shouldn't expect white tablecloths or theater tickets. Inflation apparently has a lot of singles cutting back. The dating app Plenty of Fish asked more than 8,000 users what they prefer for a first date. And it turns out about half of millennials and Gen Zers have suggested going on less expensive, more budget-friendly dates, even free ones like going for a walk or making a home-cooked meal. The app now calls the trend Infla-Dating. Another dating company, Match, found a similar thing, saying people are not giving up dates altogether, but they are making adjustments. Another trend expected to continue or grow in 2023, video dates. So singles can vet potential mates to make sure there's a real connection before they spend money on an in-person date. The pandemic really kicked off that trend, though. Before 2020 hit, Match says about 8% of people were open to a video date before an in-person one. That number has now jumped to nearly 40%. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routine. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.